Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett Shear, and usually we're talking to the singers that you didn't see on American Idol, but today we are talking to somebody that you did see. We are calling this segment Aired Exceptions because there are some amazing contestants on season 20 of American Idol, and I thought we should talk to some of them. So this contestant needs no introduction because if you watched American Idol, then you very well know Danielle Finn. Danielle, welcome to American Idol Unaired.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so pumped to talk to you because I'm such a fan of yours and I loved
Thank
watching
you.
you. How have you been? I mean, since the show ended, what's it been like?
It's been honestly kind of a hard transition because you go from having your days planned for you to the last hour literally and having, you're active all day or you have like a day off where you could just hang out with people and it's just a very comfortable environment. So it was kind of hard to go back to normal life. But I've been trying to get in the studio as much as I can. I will be putting out a song this summer, but hopefully earlier in the summer. So I've been working on that. Just trying to write a lot and jam with my sister a lot, just to get back in that mindset of performance. Because when you leave, it's kind of just immediately you're just left to do whatever you want to do, and there's no structure. But yeah, and then I graduated, and so it's good. It's good. It's summer, so I'm going to be having a lot of fun.
Congratulations, by the way, because that's a lot to happen in 1 year. That's very eventful to go from being on American Idol to graduating high school. I mean,
Yeah, I was surprised by the GPA I finished with. I was, but American Idol actually does a really good job at, they have a teacher on set with you and you have many hours a day you have to be in there. So thank God I had a lot of close friends that were minors that were with me in there. But yeah, so it wasn't too bad coming back to school at the end.
yeah, I can't even imagine what that's like because you're probably wondering when you wake up in the hotel in LA. Well, obviously you're from California, but being near the studio
Yeah,
and everything, it's like you're like, is this a dream? But then to go back home, and then you're also probably like, is this a dream? Because you're used to being there.
100%. And it kind of sucks sometimes because it's for me, I was with the top 24 for a really long time, and they performed for about 4 to 5 weeks after me. So it feels like I was with them for forever, and we created bonds and little cute friend groups within the top 24, and then all of a sudden they're off on their own and they're so focused on that, and you have to make a really big effort to keep in touch, you know what I mean? But the people this season I love with all my heart, and so I know that even if we don't talk every day, that when they come to LA, that all of them have texted me oh, can we hang out, can we hang out?
And also, if I'm correct, I mean, even though you only made it past 24, they fly everybody else out there to the studio a couple weeks before they start filming. So I'm guessing you guys had some time to hang out before you filmed the
Yeah,
first round.
yeah, we had a good 2.5 weeks, if not almost 3 weeks, to just it was a pretty chill process also because we had so much more time to practice things. But the amount of stress that goes into that week, that those couple of weeks before we start going live, is everyone's changing their songs last minute, and their wardrobe surprisingly was one of the most stressful parts of this entire show, because I feel like I have a very specific style that I'm comfortable in, and a different style that I like to perform in than I like to wear on the normal day, and so it was hard to hit it right on the head, but we did it. So yeah, the 2 weeks definitely created that stronger bond between all of us.
For sure. I mean, you got to experience all the elements of the Idol experience, from obviously making it past your audition and all of Hollywood Week, and then, making it to America's Vote and being in Hawaii, seeing the studio. I mean, even though you didn't make it the whole way, I mean, you really got to see a glimpse of everything that contestants
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, yeah. Hawaii was amazing. Hawaii is one of my favorite places. So when we went there, I tell this story, I was in one of my interviews and there's this beautiful butterfly that flies next to me, and I start looking at it and I'm just admiring it, and the lady interviewing me is Danielle, we're in an interview right now, you gotta focus. And I was I'm sorry, it's just so beautiful here. But yeah, I totally feel I got a little glimpse of everything.
I want to go back to the beginning, even before Idol, because obviously you have a love for music, as does anybody who's on that show. So how old were you when it became something that you just knew you needed to sing?
So I literally was singing since I was able to speak. But when I was about 7, I started having singing lessons, and I just couldn't find one that I loved. I've probably had 10 voice teachers. And then at some point I found out that I had nodes because I was always like I was young and I had like a raspy voice. Like what like 7-year-old little girl like doesn't sound like a 7-year-old little girl, you know? So I found out I had like this like, you know, nodes, and I had vocal therapy for a while also. So it kind of like I realized how much effort I was putting into it. Like I cared about it so much, and I realized it's kind of like what I want to do. And when I got into high school, I started like doing little competitions here and there and like for scholarships and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, I think music college is where I'm going to like thrive. And after American Idol, like secured, I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. Cause I don't know, I'm not the most studious person, you know, but when it comes to music, I could work on it like all day. So yeah.
Cool. Well, the beginning of the Idol journey. I mean, when did you get involved with the show? Because it's obviously way before it airs, and you know the whole production process is very long.
Yeah, it actually is. Like I'd step back and realize I've been there. I was there for like 6 months almost. But so my mom's best friend sent in like a TikTok of me to one of the like American Idol like side recruiters, whatever. And she was like, she has to audition, like she should really audition. So in like August, I did a virtual audition. And that was like 2 rounds on Zoom. And then they were like, how would you like to like sing in front of the judges? And I was like, yeah, I'd definitely be down for that. And then in October, I went into the auditions. And then after that, I was just every couple of months I was back there, but it was in LA. So it was like not even a big deal at all for me to go.
What were you singing in the initial rounds over Zoom?
So I actually did sing Mirror, the song I sang for my audition. It was like a song so recent that my friend had shown me, and I just felt like really connected to it at the time. So I sang it, not thinking that I was gonna audition with it, but they kind of said that it was super cool. I think they were a little nervous that like nobody knew what the song was because it was a pretty underground song, but they were like, it works perfectly with your voice and you sound beautiful. So do it. So do that. So I was like, all right, no extra work for me. That's fine. I just had to practice that as much as I could. And I changed a couple of things to make it my own, but for the most part, they were super happy with the song I chose. I know I talked to a couple other people who auditioned virtually, and they said for them they were like 3 or 4 rounds that they had to go to, and it was on different days. But mine was just 2 rounds on one day, like an hour apart from each other. So I guess everybody's kind of different.
And if I'm correct, so the fact that you knew somebody who was encouraging you to audition for the show, did you get to go past sort of the big cattle call where like if you don't know anybody, you have to like wait with like there's like 100,000 people that auditioned, you kind of get to go past that, right?
Yeah, I didn't have to do that because I guess I knew someone, and I guess there were a couple people, but a lot of people that I knew had been like recruited from TikTok or from just people that they knew. But yeah, I didn't have to do that, which was kind of that would have been so like fun for me to do because I've been watching the show forever. And like I was sad we didn't get the stickers on our shirts. Like I was like, dang, I really had that. But yeah, I didn't have to do any of that. I didn't even realize what the process was
Right.
before. You know what I mean? I didn't even know what went on at all. And it was almost just as nerve-wracking as the real audition. Like no
Sure.
question. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, you know, that's, I think what's crazy is that people don't realize that, you know, the people that actually determine if you can get on the show before the judges. I mean, the judges just see who all the producers have selected.
Right.
At the end of the day, Megan Michaels Wolflick, I'm pretty sure she was the person who told you that you're getting the ticket.
Yeah. And then it was weird because even though they're not like the judges and I guess they're not necessarily famous, like all the like Megan was such a big part of the show that like when we would see her and she would like just hang out with us and like crack jokes, we were like, this is kind of cool actually. Because like to us, like she's what makes the show happen, you know, and she was in all the rooms when we were like when we would like sing our songs for them before and when they would choose if they were the right songs or not to sing. So we actually got to make like a connection with her and the producers as well, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. Um, just a hunch that they sent you to LA, I'm assuming, you know, not that much of a long travel to your audition in front of the judges. I want to talk about that because one thing that's interesting is even though you are an aired exception for this podcast, there were some parts of your time on Idol that we didn't really get to see. And in your audition, we kind of didn't get like the full story. You know, they paired you with Cameron Champion, and there was kind of this whole storyline of the judges coaching you guys. So we got to hear your voice, and it was great that, you know, we did get to hear you. And frankly, that is the most important thing. We got to hear you sing. You were a standout from the beginning, but we kind of didn't know as much about you yet. but I'm sure that you were filming all kinds of interviews and confessionals and B-roll. So what was that like?
We filmed so much. I was there for about 4, maybe 5 days for the audition. And because yeah, like it's everything's in one day, but they have so many people, so it's impossible. But I did a confessional where I did my first main interview, and that interview took like 25-30 minutes. Like it was a long interview. And so much I spoke about. So much I spoke about my family. I spoke about my grandfather who had Alzheimer's, who actually recently passed away, like about a couple weeks ago. And I spoke about so much. I spoke about my Judaism. I spoke about everything, and like none of that got aired. And then after my audition and I got through, I had 2 more interviews, and I was just exhausted. Like my voice also was super hoarse. Like actually throughout every round of Idol, for some reason, like I don't know if it's allergies or what happens, but my voice just is shot by the end. And so I was also like couldn't even speak after my audition. But they took a lot of B-roll too, like me doing these awkward little shoots of like walking through the trees, doing like warm-ups and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of filming that went on that not even a quarter of it got put on. What can you do? There's so much film that happens. It's crazy.
It is insane. I'm like so curious if I had to like guess the number of hours and how many digits, you know.
Like actually they're filming like all like at least 8 hours a day, honestly more than that.
Yeah.
And there's so many people auditioning, it's crazy. So I can't imagine how much gets thrown away, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Who do you remember meeting? Like any fast friends that you made when you got to I think it was the hotel one where you guys filmed
Yeah.
auditions?
So Sage, who actually I sang my duet with, who I also went in the room to find out if we got through.
Yes.
I actually there was this like little competition for high schoolers, and it's like you send in a video, something like it's called Young Arts, and she won a Young Arts competition a while ago before when she was in high school, and I recognized her and I heard her talking about it, and I was like, did you win like the jazz competition? And she was like, yeah. And instantly we started talking, and we became like very, very close, and close with her dad. Her dad is so cool too. So from the auditions we became friends, me and Kennedy actually. We became really close too because we were both minors. And we slowly started to talk and became close. And there were a couple other people who, her name's Carly. I don't know if you remember, she was in our audition. It's kind of all about like how she's a dog groomer. So we became friends too. And just like a couple people who, they were just so sweet and like outgoing, and a lot of people were really nervous and in their head and stuff. They were all like super cool. So those are the people I met in the audition rounds.
Now they split you guys in 2 groups. Group 1, day 1 and day 2. Then they bring in a new herd. Group 2, day 1 and day 2. So which
Yeah,
group were you?
I was group 2, and then like the second of the day. Yeah, I was the last day, and I went about 7th of the day. No, maybe like 10th of the day. And one person got through before me. And I was freaking out because before we came, the first 2 days before we were there was like the first group of LA people. And the producers and Patrick Lynn, who's like runs the contestants, best guy ever, love him. He was saying that like the day before, like nobody's been getting through. They've been fangirling a lot. And we were like, my God, like literally what's going to happen? Like, is LA just going to be a bust? Because they made it seem like the judges were just being really, really harsh. So when I went in and I was like 10th and like all the people before me weren't getting through, I was so nervous. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I just got to be me, got to go in there and just be calm. And that's what I tried to do. But it was definitely nerve wracking. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a lot from even the unaired contestants about how I guess going in there and telling the judges you're obsessed with them isn't the move, even though
Yeah,
I'm sure it's like it's flattering, but after a while it's just like don't play that card.
exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like you want to be chill, but then don't be too chill. There's people that go in there like way too cocky, and you're just like, I mean, there's a balance, but they look like wax fingers. Like you go in there and it's like they're perfect. You know what I mean?
I was just in my head doing the tally count. You're now the 5th person on this podcast to say that they look like either plastic or wax figures.
Really? That's so funny. Yeah, that I would talk about that with everybody. Like, first of all, they're way farther than you expected. And they just look perfect. And young. They look like no wrinkles on their face. It's crazy. Yeah.
And Patrick's an OG. He's been there since the very beginning. And
He would tell me so many funny stories about all the like past contestants and like just all the little things that happen that it's like crazy to think he knows everybody who's won the show and like every contestant that's been on the show. And like he has favorites, you know, you always try to get it out of him. He would never tell us that. But he did really love Kelly Clarkson. I've literally been watching it forever. Like when I was little, no TV during the week. Like, we don't do that. And then American Idol was on and like, no question, like we're all sitting next to the TV and watching it. So it was pretty surreal to see myself like in that position.
And pretty cool to be part of the 20th season because that's a cool legacy. I mean, you're part of the first episode too of the season.
Yeah, it was so cool when I found that out because I know that like everything is really purposeful the way they do it. And that's why everything's kind of planned so in advance. So when I found out that I was on the first episode, I was really excited about that.
The thing that I find interesting is even though you may not have gotten kind of the full story in the audition, people still watch it for the talent and they can still pick out who they really like, even if it's only like a minute, and not the whole like 7-minute thing.
Yeah.
But, and also the fact that you were kind of paired with someone, Cameron Champion, did you get to meet her in the auditions or was it not till it aired that you guys?
So I didn't meet her on the auditions, but I did meet her in Hollywood Week, the first round. And she was super sweet, but I don't know. It was when I first met all the minors, there were a lot, like when we all went to Hollywood Week, there were like over 20, there were like at least 25 minors. So you couldn't really meet everybody. And so I briefly met her, but it was a shock when I saw that we were being put in the same package, because even on the Zoom, they didn't tell us anything about it. So, and I kind of realized like, had a lot of pairing throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
Me and Sage, I think they saw that we were really close. And so when we heard about our duets, it was like people were going and there were only a couple people left, and me and Sage like had a feeling that we were going to be together. And we also both have like kind of raspy lower voices, kind of like a little jazzier, I like to think. So when I heard they were putting us together, we were kind of happy about it. And then they put us together again for going through to see if we were going to get to top 24. And I was sure I was going home. I was like, Sage is more experienced. Like she's older. She's just more experienced than me. And like, I feel like she's definitely going through. And then we both got through and it was crazy.
I watched the clip again last night. When you guys walked out, they did the thing where they don't actually show the judges revealing whether or not you made it. You just have to wait to see if you walk out with the good news. Do you remember the exact phrasing that they gave you, since we didn't actually get to see them saying?
Yeah, they were like, it's only been like all the pairs today, either both have gone home or only one of them is going home. And like, you guys both really showed up. You're both powerhouses, but it's just really hard to choose, you know what I mean? And we're sad to say this. And then they're like, just kidding, you're both going through. And like heart attack. Like we were sitting on the chairs and like froze for a good 30 seconds. Like we were like, are you joking with us right now? This is not funny. Like, are you joking? And they were like, no, like you're both going through. And then we just stood up and hugged them. And it was the most surreal. Like the thing that I keep thinking about in my bed, like when I'm just sitting there, especially when I was in the competition, I was just like, I'm this like 17-year-old girl, almost 18 this month, in like LA, like where there's so many people who want to do this, and like in a small community, have gone to the same schools like all my life with the same people. Like I live in such like a bubble kind of, and like it was so surreal that I was like on the show with these different people, and like the fact that I was picked out of all these talented people, like people that went home that they didn't get it on camera, but like I was bawling because I was just like, it doesn't make sense. Like Yoli was one of them. She had the purple hair. She was like my mom on the show, like the first couple of weeks. And I met her also actually in auditions. We became really, really close. And I was just like, there's no way that I'm getting through. Like it still doesn't make sense to me. So when I did, it was kind of like showed me that like it doesn't really matter like where you come from, you just got to do it.
Well, that's what people connect with, you know? It's like, I mean, you can't go in there assuming you're going to win because let's be honest, nobody likes somebody who's cocky. It never works. You also recognize that clearly you're doing something right because to be in the top 24, you know, you can't believe it. And it is amazing. And especially, you know, being paired, it's probably terrifying to go in there with somebody else when you've constantly been paired and you're thinking, oh gosh, it's probably only going to be one of us. But then for it to
Yeah.
be two of you and for them to give you that heart attack like that,
Yeah.
and we're watching at home thinking, what the heck is going to happen? And Katie really, you know, she was harsh. We saw that.
By the way, that's exactly how it was in person. No, but there there was a little part that they cut out, and I think it was just like for time. But I was saying like how I felt after my showstopper for real. Like I left the stage and cried my eyes out for 2 hours. Like I was really not happy with it. I thought I should have saved the song for later. And honestly, when I think back about it, like it wasn't that bad. Like obviously I got through, so it wasn't that bad, but I obviously was just a little disappointed. Like I could have done better. But when I said that I feel like my performance was what I wanted it to be, I was more talking about like the way I performed on stage because you don't really get to do it before then. Like it's all you and the mic, an open stage, the lights are on, like there's no band behind you. The vibe is just kind of like feels like a talent show a little bit, you know? So once I had the band behind me and the lights were down, there was the audience in front of me. Like, I feel like I wish they showed it just because my presence was just, I was happy about my presence on stage, you know? And so it was kind of awkward when I saw the way they aired it and it sounded like I was like, yeah, like it was a really good performance, but it was okay. I deserved that. I knew that was the feedback I was getting. Like the whole day I was telling my parents, I know they're gonna say that it wasn't my best. Which kind of like validated that I know myself and I know what's good and what's not, you know. It was good feedback. Like I definitely took it to heart and tried to change that as much as I could in the next round.
Sure. I mean, aside from the more serious moment, I definitely enjoyed watching like your personality came across. I remember in your audition when Katie and Luke were arguing and you were like, oh, I won't interrupt your conversation.
Yeah, they really were when you're in there and like it makes sense like they have to decide who they want and like they're also you could just tell they have such a bond, you know, and they just love to joke around. So like I was in there and Katie and Luke were like arguing about me and Lionel and I like said something, I guess. And Lionel was like, you know, like you gotta let them bicker it out. Like they're just gonna go ham. Like you gotta let them do it and like, you know, we'll come back to you. And I was like, all right, like I'm not trying to interrupt your conversation. Like, and it's funny because I also had like a little British accent in the beginning. The first thing I heard after I sang was I'm deeply disturbed right now. And I was like, deeply disturbed because that's how I would speak with my friends. And I swear my friends made a meme. Like they literally made like a meme of me, like a picture of me being like deeply disturbed because they died. They were like, why did you speak like that? And I was like, I don't know, it just came out. But I guess it worked in my favor because that kind of showed like a little bit more of who I am.
Yeah. Well, in Hollywood Week, that's where we kind of got the full story because before your genre challenge, we really got to meet you. You know, I know that you talked about your grandfather and you talked about why you do what you do and you talked more about who you are as an artist. So I think it was probably cool to finally know that people were going to know more about you.
It was really cool. And honestly, I didn't really know what my package was going to be like. They don't tell you anything. So when I saw it on TV, I was just like, everybody was crying because they were just like, they made it such a beautiful package. They really showed how connected I was to my grandfather. And I didn't want it to sound like one of those like stories that they were just saying it because they need a sob story, you know? And I knew that like it's possible that it would sound like that because you know I'm in tune, you know, I know that like it's a story about my grandpa and like, you know, everything like that, but it was really real and I wanted it to come off that way. And I feel like they did a really, really good job at showing it that way on TV. So I was really happy. And I was happy that out of all my performances, that one they highlighted because that was my personal favorite also.
Another thing that we touched on is the fact that, you know, you're from California. So whereas all these other contestants are flying in from across the country and arriving at LAX and meeting everybody, do you just like get dropped off at the Orpheum or like?
Yeah, I was a minor, so my mom got to be with me the whole time, which was a plus because I actually do not know what I would do if she wasn't there. Like the amount of like stress, especially duet night, like when you're just having to do your duet and it is actually in one night. It's it's really stressful. And because I'm a minor, I can only be on camera like a certain amount of hours of the day. So then once the cameras are off, it's like I kind of had to go to my room and practice by myself. So it was definitely hard, but I had my mom there. So yeah, we got dropped off earlier. We got to chill in the room, and it was definitely a way easier transition. And when I needed clothes or I needed my dress to be like washed, like my house was a couple blocks away. So it was pretty nice.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely an advantage. I mean, I know that for some people who were so far from home, there was the anxiety of literally some people had never been to LA before, or even if they had, it's just the long flight.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of stressful things about Hollywood Week, aside from the travel. So you already had enough to worry about. So you had that weight lifted off of your shoulder.
Yeah. And also in Hollywood Week, you don't know you don't know how far you're going to get. So by the end, like by the last Showstopper round, I had to like kind of choose my song. I had actually Feeling Good, the Michael Bublé version. I had that as my Showstopper song. And then the lady was like, you could do it, but there's about like 3 other people that are practicing that song also. And I was like, no, like I am not going to be that girl. I'm not singing a song that somebody else is singing. Not because like I couldn't do it justice. Like at the end of the day, I could do it like the back of my hand. But I think it was good, I think, in a way that I chose a song that was kind of different. That was what I did for a lot of the first rounds, was songs that nobody really knew. My duet round was it was a song that nobody else chose, and me and Sage were like, yeah, we got to do a song that nobody else chose, because even if it's meh, like even if it just slides by, nobody else did the song. There's nothing to compare it to, and like our voices will just be good together no matter what. So, yeah.
Remind me what you sang in Genre Challenge.
So for the genre round, I sang "Easy on Me" by Adele.
Right, and it was a standout.
I sang it. I was shaking a little in the beginning because I was just obviously nervous. I hadn't sung for them for like a couple weeks or maybe a month or something. So I sang the song, and then after, they all stood up, and I really did not think I was going to get a standing ovation. They were sparse. Like not a lot of people got them that day. And Katie like lifted the panel of all the people from my line and like shook it in my face. Like, dang, felt so good. So it was pretty awesome.
And those are, I mean, let's be honest, big shoes to fill, because that song, if I'm correct, you film in December, so that song had not been out for too long. And anytime Adele drops a new song and you're covering Adele, by the time the show aired, it had been a couple months. But I feel like in the moment, everybody in the theater is thinking, wow, like this is like a huge song.
The lady who was kind of guiding me a little bit through this, she, like the person who helped me get recruited, she was just like, you are like, I've been singing Adele forever. So she was like, why wouldn't you do an Adele song that's new? That probably, she was like, I don't know if you're going to get it. Like she told me, she was like, it's new. Probably everybody's going to be asking for it. Like there's no way they're going to give it to you, but like, you might as well just try. Why not? So when they told me that I got the song, I was so happy, because I knew they weren't going to give it to anybody else. And then I was going to stand out singing it, and I was super confident in it. So it was kind of like the perfect thing, the perfect package to go into a genre round.
And I think you really put your little Danielle spin on it, because even though it was in the same key and it was very familiar, but whether it was the vocal choices you made or just the stage presence, I think that by the end of it, clearly people in the room all could tell that you knew who you were as an artist, and you were able to pick a song that, despite being so popular,
Yeah.
you weren't thinking, oh, she's just singing a karaoke version.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really nice, honestly, to see all of the contestants in the crowd, because they're all in front of you, and we would always joke around, more like in the top 24, but we'd always joke around that like American Idol is not a competition. It's literally camp, because everybody sounds different. You can't really compete against each other. It's almost worse if you try to do that. Like when you stay in your lane and you do what you know, it's much better. And so kind of like they were all cheering me on. And after, like everybody came up to me, because I think in big crowds like this, I'm not a quiet person, as you could tell. I like to talk a lot, but definitely in like music crowds, I get a little shy. And so when they would always be like jamming out or singing in a circle, like I never really joined in. I would sit there and like sit with them, but nobody had really heard me sing. So when they heard me sing the Adele song, like I got a lot of positive feedback, and it was a really good confidence booster. Like it's what I needed, Off camera, Lionel was talking to us, and he was like, can we just have like top 24 winners. Like I don't know, like, can we just do that? Like during Hollywood Week, he was like, this is such a talented group of people, like more than they've had in a while. And honestly, like I obviously don't know what happens behind the scenes of all the other seasons unless you watch podcasts and watch these interviews. But it felt good. Like he really believed in us. Like Lionel for sure was, I feel like more than other times, like he definitely felt really connected to like a lot of these contestants this year. And it was, the bond between all the people was awesome too.
Since this podcast is called American Idol Unaired, I'm really curious about hearing your perspective on some of the contestants that we didn't get to see, because you did experience a lot of great talent that wasn't aired. So from Genre Challenge, were there any standout performances from contestants you can think of who didn't air?
Yeah. Okay. There are people that, I have a couple, but Sage's performance for Genre Round was literally her top 3 performances of the entire season. Like she sang Distance by Emily King. Literally, like the whole crowd was into it. It was super different. Like everybody loved it. She got a standing O, at least from 2 of the judges. Like it was a perfect song choice. And I was really upset when they didn't show it because it was so good. And then Jordan Chase had his Genre Round, and his voice is like silk. Like all of his runs were perfect and so much range too. And when he didn't get through to the top 24, I was really surprised also, especially because he duetted with Kennedy, and I thought he held his ground so well with her. So I was really surprised about that one. But his too is someone that really stood out to me a lot. And Yoli sang Honey. I think that was my favorite performance of the entire season ever. Like not even kidding. Like it was so perfect. She got the whole crowd on their feet dancing. She was so into it. And that was like also one of the biggest disappointments that they didn't air that one.
I don't know if you've ever watched America's Got Talent, but Yoli was on America's Got Talent. And I don't know if you watched that.
I've watched America's Got Talent before, but I didn't watch her on it. I watched it after, but I didn't watch it when it was airing. Like she showed us some clips of her, and she's just so impressive. Like even what she's doing now, she's like in her whole little like Cuban community, and she's like killing it. And I've watched like videos of her on stage, and she's so much fun to watch. And like, she's going to go big. Like there's no question about it.
Totally. And Christian Guardino was on her season of America's Got Talent as well. And he made it pretty far. And I'm sure that you got to know him pretty well.
Yeah. Christian so I didn't meet him until like later in Hollywood Week. And he kind of was a little bit quiet when the mentors came, like for each, actually this was for Genre Round. He was sitting in my circle for the Soul Round, and we met there, and we kind of were just hanging out, and he was like really nervous, and like we were just sitting in the corner, and he was doing like little riffs like for hours, was just like riffing to himself like under his breath. And I was sitting next to Sage, and we were just like, this guy is not real. Like what, like how is he doing? It's like breathing for him was the little runs and riffs he was doing just to like calm himself down. And then we were put on together for Genre Round. We were our split take, and it was me and him paired together for the package. And that was so funny because that was like the first time we had met was during Genre Round. But then in top 24, he kept to himself a little bit, but just because he needed his space. A lot of people, like they need their space in their trailers, and but the nicest guy I've ever met. Like so positive, always trying to bring everybody else up. Like I would be having a bad day, or I'd leave my practice and I'd be in a really bad mood. And he was just like, Danielle, you killed it. Like, what are you even saying? Yeah, he's awesome.
So you were with Haley Reinhart for the mentoring and Genre Challenge, yeah?
Yeah, I only spoke to her a little bit, like in the circles, because they didn't have enough time to get to everyone.
Right.
But I did speak to her like in our little pod of people, and just so genuine and so nice. And Jordan Sparks was there too, who I was really excited to see because I love her. And she did a little concert for us, like not really, but she did one song for us. And everyone was getting into it. And you just don't realize it. They're so genuine and real. Like she was just wearing like her Jordans and like jeans and like just chilling with us. She made it so comfortable to talk to her, and super encouraging too. And Sir Blake was one of the people who I was really close with this season, who I still talk to all the time. and he knew Jordan Sparks from like something else. Like they had recorded something together, and it was just like they were like, "Hey, what up?" And I was like,
Wow.
like you don't know, you guys know each other, like that's crazy. So that was cool.
I've heard many contestants talk about Sir Blake, and from what I hear, he's just this like uplifting, comforting, while you guys are trying to get through this overwhelming time period that is Hollywood Week, he was just there to make sure that everybody was, as much as he's there to compete for himself, he was there to make sure that you guys were all okay, it seems like.
He really was. And his hugs, man, like he gave the best hugs ever. Like just that he's huge. He's so tall. He's literally like, and I'm short, so like he towers over me. He'd see me like a little anxious in the corner, he'd be like, "Come here, Danielle." He just give me like the biggest hug. So comforting. It really was. And like that's kind of the vibe of everybody. Like when we were sitting in like the waiting room, just like waiting and waiting for hours, it was just everybody was just trying to calm each other down because it really is high stress all the time.
And you both got voted off at the same time, so maybe there was a bond that you guys shared after that.
Yeah, we kind of we were proud of our Hawaii performances, but we both knew that our song choice probably could have been better. Just we could have had a little bit more just confidence when we were on the stage. And so when it came time to like for live shows, we were just like, and the feedback we were getting, we just kind of knew we were going home. And so we tried to make the most of like the last couple of days that we were there, because we were like, listen, it just doesn't reflect how we are. This is just America voting, and it's how we sounded in the one moment, and like trying not to get too down on ourselves because we knew that it was just one performance,
Yeah.
And both didn't get too much. I mean, we got a fine amount of airtime, just like they didn't get to see all of us, you know what I mean? And they can't, it's impossible to see everybody of the top 24, but we knew we were going home. So we definitely had that bond for sure.
In my opinion, and I'm one person, but I think I speak for America here. Everybody was shocked when you guys went home. Both you and Sir Blake. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry, that was surprising.
It was really sad. There was 1 second I knew it was gonna be in the bottom. Like obviously I didn't know 100% if I wasn't gonna get through, except my mom told me that after they mic'd all the parents except for her. And so then she knew from like the beginning of the show that I wasn't or she kind of knew. Uh-huh. So that was like, I looked back at her and I was like, the more people that left, she was sitting behind me, and also Emerson's mom, who still like one of my best friends, they were sitting next to her. And I looked back and I was like, going home, guys, like I'm going home. Like, and I just knew it. And there was a split second where I was like, someone could pull through it now. But Dan, who he's such a cool guy, and like he has that whole country vibe to him, and like also like his voice is so smooth, and I just knew like he has those country people on his side, like rooting for him, and so I knew he was gonna get through. But for a second I had a little bit of hope, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, I mean, it again, like as we said earlier, you got to experience every part of filming the show. So to get to the studio and to be there and to have been considered for America's Vote, to make it that far, it's really cool. And of course, when Ryan is calling the names, you wonder, could I be next?
Yeah, and he was like, Dan, and I was like, Danielle.
That was smart of them to do it like that.
Yeah, they know what they're doing at all times. They really do. And so in the rehearsal, I was gonna sing Valerie for the next round, and it was a super cool arrangement. Started off kind of slow, and then had a random kick, and it just started fast, whatever. It was just a really cool arrangement. And they're like mock judges when you're sitting there and waiting, and they had the biggest smile on their faces. And at first I was a little nervous for my song choice just because I knew it was so overdone. But when I was in my rehearsal, Megan was like, actually, nobody's done it for a really long time. And even though it's one of the most overdone songs, like, I think you can do it well. So I was excited at the same time to do it. And I just saw all the mock judges' faces, and they were so they just loved it. And I was so excited to perform it, and I wish I got to perform it, even though I didn't get through, like a last hurrah. Yeah. But no, I just got thrown to the wolves right away. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah.
I'm trying to think. So I think we covered auditions, and we covered most of Hollywood Week. I one more question about that, because after genre challenge and making it through your line, which by the way, they cut you guys in half that round. That's a big cut.
Yeah, we knew, they told us like going into Hollywood Week, it was way more than they've had in a while. So all of us were kind of freaking out. Like it's kind of anyone's game. If you mess up now, you're done. Like that's how it kind of is in the beginning rounds. Like you have nothing backing you up. So you have no reason why they would let you through if you have a bad performance in genre or duet rounds, you know? So you kind of have to do your best and put it all out there.
Well, finding out who you were going to be paired with, I wonder what that was like. Was it, I'm sure it was exciting, but also nerve wracking.
I honestly, I had a gut feeling it was going to be Sage, but I also was really nervous because I feel like when there's situations like that, like where you have to be with one other person, you have to work on a project or work on like music or something. I don't like, I get nervous sometimes to like take like put my foot forward and like give my input, because sometimes I'm just like, what if it doesn't work out, you know? So I was a little afraid that I was going to get someone that I wasn't comfortable with and I would just kind of go with the flow and not like put my 2 cents in. So I was really nervous. It's like getting paired with someone who you like really don't like in school and you're like, crap, I have to do a week of this with them. And like, you know, not that there was anyone I didn't like, just someone that you don't know that well. So it was definitely more nerve wracking than exciting, but like we butchered it. Like it was fine, but like the harmonies, we didn't really harmonize because we were nervous we weren't going to remember the harmonies. And like, I forgot the words and like made up words. And I feel like I played it off pretty well, but it was not good. So at that point I was on stage, like, I wish they got it on camera. I was laughing. Like, I was like, dang, like Lionel made an analogy. He was like, you know, you have baseball players and football players. And sometimes the football players and the baseball players don't really know how to play the same sport together, but on their own, they're amazing. Like they are A1 athletes. Like they know how to get it done. But together they're not too good. So me and Sage were like, what are you trying to say right now? And he was like, you know, you guys just sang really well, but you didn't have any harmonies. You didn't really sing together. It was kind of like, here's Sage and here's Danielle, and we're just gonna sing at the same time. Like, dang, okay. But then they let us both through, so it was fine. But I got what he was saying. There wasn't much cohesiveness in the piece that we sang.
I think the only other thing before live shows I want to ask is just another kind of recap of Showstoppers, because obviously you were on stage and that they crammed a lot into one day because they're filming, 59 performances in one day. And I think it worked out differently. I don't think you guys got to see everybody else, if I'm correct, right? Because they have you in a holding room.
Yeah, they have you in a holding room where a lot of like some of the things are filmed there, but they have you in a holding room and then you go in and you can hear the two people before you, but that's it because you're backstage. And I was like fifth of the day. I didn't get to hear anybody's, and I like, wow, it was so nerve wracking. I didn't know I was going to be pushed that early, but I got pushed up there, so it was kind of nerve wracking. But I think it was also kind of good that I got to get it over with. You know,
Who are you waiting with?
I was waiting with Valerie was one of the minors with me, and Tristan. That's it, actually. But I guess I was third. It was my, so I'm like Jewish, right? So we have like Shabbat or the Sabbath,
Uh-huh.
and at like a certain time you can't really perform. And like I was trying to stay consistent with like how I was on the show, you know, and how I like portrayed my Judaism to them, because it gets really confusing. And so they pushed me to the front of the line so I could do it earlier in the day.
Uh-huh.
But I did not realize that I was going to be third. Like it was a really big shock to me. So they told me the day of that I was going to be that early, and I was freaking out a little, but whatever, what could you do? You just had to go in there and do it, you know?
Then you have to wait, if I'm correct, like 2 or 3 days before they film the Green Mile,
Yeah,
which I'm sure was brutal, but
it
also
was.
a rest, which you needed.
Yeah, my because the show was on like Friday night, like they had a whole day Saturday to just chill. So my parents both were with us in like the hotel room, and you know, we got a day to like cool down. And like I said, like I was not happy with my performance, so
Huh.
that night was not fun for me. Like the night of, like I got back to the hotel earlier because you just go straight to the hotel after you finish, and they like slowly my friends started coming back, and I was waiting in the lobby, like we got like some fries, you know, trying to make me feel a little better. And they were just like, are you good? I was like, no, like I'm going home. I'm not going to stay any longer. Like that performance was not good. So getting through was even more of a shock to me because of that.
Fries make you feel better.
Always, always.
So living in LA, is In-N-Out like, you're just sick of it, or is it still good?
No, it's good. Well, basically their fries are meh. Like I don't love their fries, but it's cute inside, so I guess it's fun to go there. But I forget that people don't have In-N-Out everywhere.
Where did you get fries from that night? I'm just curious if you remember.
From the hotel.
Good tasting?
Really good tasting. Like hotel French fries, they were crispy. I think they had like some truffle on them. The perfect fries to just make my night better for sure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you had the temporary French fry potato healing, and then
Right.
you go and you film your Green Mile. Are you waiting? Are you waiting a long time? Are you later in the day when you find out, or are you earlier in the day?
It's kind of later in the day. Well, me and Sage were the last 4 people to go. So you get there, minors have a certain amount of time. So we got there later at like 11. And you're just filming a bunch of interviews and it's freezing. Nobody brought the right clothes and there were like heaters all around us. It was a long day. That day felt like forever. And they started filming at like 3 or 4. They started like actually like having people go into the room. And by the time it was us, it was probably like 8 or 9. And I actually saw the paper and I saw like my name and her name. And then underneath I saw Dakota and Dan.
Yeah.
And we call him Dan, but I think they call him Daniel on the show. And their names were both circled and just Sage's name was circled. So I was like, all right, I'm going home. I don't know how I saw it. Like it was just the paper linger. I was like, I'm going home and Dakota and Dan are getting through and that's how it's going to like make the top 24. And that wasn't the case, obviously, in the end. But that's why I was like shaking going in there. And me and Sage were holding hands and like could not breathe. But it was way later. It was dark already when we went in.
What could that mean? Could that be a way to fool you in case you see it?
Possibly, or I don't know, like, well, they also had to sing off. So maybe that's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know why my name wasn't circled. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was a last minute decision or something like that.
How terrified would you be if you had to sing off with Sage, who you're really close with?
We were the whole day. So we found out like earlier in the day, just so it goes smoother, who's going in together and who's going. We didn't. The order was kind of changed, but we knew if we were going to go in a pair or not. And we found out, and we looked at each other, and we were like, this is not fair. Like they've been pairing us up together this entire time. Like we just like even when we had rehearsals, we were always next to each other. Like we were just frustrated and we didn't want to do it. We didn't want one of us to go home. And so if we had to sing off, so like the whole day we were like distant from each other. Like we couldn't even look at each other because we would have been like crying or upset. And so we really like kept our distance until we had to go in and we were like, are you ready right now? And we were like, yeah, we're ready. So it was really hard. And if I had to duet her, I probably would not be able to do it, honestly. Like they're standing right there. You have no prep and there's no piano. We thought there was going to be accompaniment, but in the end there wasn't. So no, I would not have been able to do it.
I'm glad I didn't put you through that. You'd been through it that week.
They say it's super stressful and it is, but it's a little less intense than I think I just was good at like taking myself away when I needed my space. Like I feel like the kids or the people who just like want to be involved 24/7 and they always want to like be jamming all the time and they want to like obviously want to make the most of it, but you can't burn yourself out. And I feel like I did a good job at not burning myself out by the end of the week.
Did the contestants who got through before you on the Green Mile Day, did they get to leave or do they wait so that they're on camera as they watch each of their fellow competitors come out of the room?
No, after they got out, you go straight, you get your food, and then there's like a bus, I think, that just takes you back and you're out of there. Yeah.
Hawaii, you get to go in February, right? To film Top 24?
Yeah, it was so much fun. For like a couple weeks in advance, we Zoomed with some of the voice coaches and the people who were like doing our accompaniment, and we got to practice on Zoom with them. And so once we got there, it was like 1 rehearsal a day. You have your free time, go chill on the beach. Our interviews consisted of eating ice cream, and like literally it was so much fun. Like going in the water in like boats, like that was our interviews, you know. I got a little clip in the preview of me talking in the Hawaii preview. That was cool.
And then Jimmy Allen seems like an awesome mentor.
He was. I was so happy that I got him because BB Rex is super cool. But I was just like, I don't know. I felt like Jimmy Allen, like I only knew him a little bit. So I was kind of like excited to get to know him more. And he was so down to earth. And that day, my voice was literally gone. Like I could not speak. I was doing everything I could. And I think it was just like flying and stuff like that. Like my voice was shot. And I was so nervous that I wasn't gonna be able to sing in my interview. And you could definitely tell in the interview my voice is hoarse. Like it's not normal. But he was just giving me like, he was like, that was like he literally told me that was perfect and that he wouldn't have changed one thing about it. And that was crazy to hear because I did not think that that's the feedback I was gonna get. I knew that it wasn't bad, but like nowhere near did I think he was gonna say it was perfect. He was like, you were so into it and you just felt like you were feeling the song, and like I really was when I was out there. And everything he said was so genuine, and he's awesome. Like I want to be his best friend, you know. It's just really cool how he really cares. It wasn't just like, oh, they're hiring me, so now I'm just gonna like do this gig really quick and be done with it, you know.
Yeah, I know. I felt like, I don't know if you watched the last couple seasons with Bobby Bones mentoring, but he kind of gave me Bobby Bones vibes just in terms of
Yeah,
how he really cared. And he's also from the country world. But I mean, even though you're not a country artist, I feel like he was really beneficial to you guys.
totally. Yeah, and when we were doing our rehearsals, he was standing there and like giving us little tips about like where to move and stuff like that. And I feel like also because he was on American Idol and he did experience like a little part of it, that he was more relatable, you know, even though he didn't do the top 24, but he definitely felt more relatable to me.
Talk about unaired. He wasn't, I don't think, aired on the show, or very little, probably like 11 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's also, it was like, okay, like if I don't make it here, it's okay. I have a lot of time, and I got exposure, and more the experience and the people is what I gained the most out of it. Like I know I'll never have this experience again, you know. You'll never have the cutthroat like 24 hours go go go. And so I think it was just really beneficial to me as like an artist.
Yeah. Well, people, I'm telling you, like people were really surprised when you did get cut. Again, I know I'm speaking for the American public because I just know what I've read online. I know like you ever watch Clark Beckham? You ever watch his videos?
Of Clark Beckham. I think he might do a tour right now for the top 24. So
Yeah.
yeah. I love him. He's so cool.
He was pissed when he heard about you getting cut.
And I was like, because I knew for Evergreen, even though we only heard a little bit of it, like I let him down. I let him down a little. And it for some reason, like when you're an idol, like you feel like you're letting him down when you don't like go the standard that he expects you to be at. And even though I didn't think my Hawaii performance was so good, he loved it. And I was like, come on, like I just want one more to show him, like, and to show everybody else that like I have more to give than just slow songs, you know. But it felt good that he was sad about me. Yeah.
Yeah. Hope you're watching, Clark, because hopefully you'll like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right before the Idol journey ended, you did get a chance to spend a little bit of time at the studio, and you had some more time with your Idol fam. I mean, that must have been a blast to just have a little more time to make memories and hang out with people. And I'm sure that that's what you got out of it, because even though you didn't perform on TV, you were spending time with your fellow top 24 contestants.
Yeah. We would go to dinner. We would get back at like some days we'd get back early, and we'd like walk to dinner across the street and just like hang out. And we had an off day and we all got our nails done together. Like it was really cute, and an experience. And like I wish I could do it again, you know. Like I don't know if I'll actually go back on the show, but if I were to do it again, like I would, no question.
Are you like eligible to audition again?
I think they changed the rules. I'd be able to, but Sir Blake was trying to get me to do it. He's like, come on, let's go back. And I was like, bro, I know you only have one more year, but I'm 17 and I'm not going back yet. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Was it really like cool walking onto the set for the first time and entering CBS Television City?
It was really, really cool. I have a video of like me and Emerson and Tristan, because we were like we had to stick together the whole time. And I have a video of us walking into the room and we were like, it's so much smaller than we thought it was going to be. It's so small. And it was so surreal, but it literally, it was like, that's the TV. Like, that's what the stage looks like that. And it's so cool to see like the floor glows up and the walls and the ceiling, like everything. Patrick was telling us that room costs like more than your life. The amount of equipment that is in there is crazy.
There's so much that goes into one show. So even though you didn't get a chance to perform from that room on TV, you know, you obviously got to prepare Valerie and you're rehearsing and I bet there's so much that went into just starting the live shows for this season.
Yeah. And the vocal coaches that I had in Hawaii, it was Justin and Nick. So those two were my vocal coaches and they were the same ones for when we came back. Some of them switched around once in a while, but just like the vocal coaches really care about you there. And it's something that you don't get to see until later when they show like your practice, like, you know, later in, I think top 10, they show it. When I was practicing with them, like, especially in Hawaii, when I had like my vocal issues where like I couldn't even get a word out, like my vocal coach, Nick, like gave me these weird throat lozenges and like, he like gave my vocal cords massages and would teach me new ways to sing. And they just really like want the best for you and they want you to sound the best and perform the best. And you just feel like it's such an uplifting place. Like they really just want you to do well. And that was like one of my favorite parts too, that you guys don't even get to see how much work, not even from us, but from like the coaches, how much work they put into it, and how talented they are. It's crazy.
And I'm sure you did a lot of filming in case you were to have made it through, like the interviews and the story packages.
Yeah, a lot. There was just some points where like some of the interviewers were sitting there and the person at the camera, he'd like be rolling his eyes a little bit. And I was like, I know I talk a lot, okay? Like you could just pick and choose what you want, all right? Like this is not my fault.
And a lot of downtime, which is nice. Hotel time and food time. And
yeah, it was kind of nice to be a local. I showed them around a little bit and like, I told everyone, I did say, like, my house is an open mat, come in anytime you want. So Cameron came here for a little bit and like didn't book a flight home. And he was here for like a good week. They're all kind of taking me up on the offer and I love it. Like, I love it so much.
As fun as Cam was to watch on TV, I imagine that was a party to have him staying at your house for a week.
A party's an understatement. Yeah, my sisters hung out with him too a little bit because they were all home. We took him to Venice Beach and he's just a crack up. Like he can have fun. He got like 2 tattoos while he was on the show. He got 3 tattoos like while and his brother got like a big, I don't know if you saw this, but he bet his brother that he could make it to the top 24. And his brother said, if you actually make it, because he only started singing like 4 months before American Idol. So he said, if you make it to the top 24, I will get American Idol tattooed on my ass. Like I will get the whole thing. And he did it. And his brother got it on it, like a huge one. Like, oh my God, I cannot believe that his brother did that. But it's on his TikTok. You should go see it. It's the funniest thing ever.
Wow. So wait, was this during like the process where you guys were out there filming, or is this?
Yes. Yeah. Like while we were there, all of this happened. His brother got it back home, but he got like 2 tattoos on the show and then 1 tattoo when he came to my house, which was like a week after he got out.
Wow.
Yeah, he's crazy. He is how he is on TV, like super hyper, super like, we went to dinner and he could barely sit straight for like 5 minutes. I was like, oh my God.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Did you like doing like school on set, or was it kind of like a drag to have to do work while you were there?
It was fun. Our teacher, Lena, like she always posts about us, but she was so cute. And like, I mean, she helped us with our work a lot. And if we needed breaks, she gave us breaks. It was a very chill environment, but it did suck a little bit that the minors were very separate from everybody else during the day. Like we were just a walk away from everybody, but we were so like in our room, like legally we had to be there, you know? So we couldn't take so many breaks like with everybody else. So I think in that way, it was harder to make like the personal connections with people. Cause while we were sitting in school for 3 hours, they were just chilling in their trailers, like making TikToks and, you know, jamming out and just like hanging out with each other. So for that reason, it was a little bit annoying. That's when like me, Emerson, and Tristan just became such a close friend group. Because also Kennedy was with us in Hawaii. So me, Kennedy, Tristan, and Emerson were really close. Like all of Hawaii, we hung out. We would get dinner together like every day across from the hotel. Like, and it was a nice bond. And then we realized when we came back on set to CBS Studios that it kind of like separated us from everybody. But we couldn't really do anything about it. So we made the most of it.
In the scheme of things, to the viewers, it's like, wow, like you went home so early, but I feel like it's kind of full circle, as we kind of close here. Like, I know in the beginning I said like, oh, we were kind of bummed out, like you went home on the earlier side, but you spent so much time in American Idol. You really got such a full, thorough experience.
Yeah. And that's what I always talk about my friends from Idol. I'm like, don't forget about me, guys, because it's not like you spent more than like one more month than me on the show, and like I also where we stayed, which I won't disclose, but you probably know, is super close to my house. So me and Emerson watched the show at my house a couple of times, and like obviously I didn't want to overstep because they're so focused and I wanted them to like be in it. But at the same time, like everybody who went home like before top 10, we were just like, damn, like it just sucks because we were there for so long and it seems like we went home so early, and like, yeah, we did, but the connections we made were just like the lasting, it wasn't that much longer that they were still on the show. And it's like cool that you kind of realize that, because I don't think anybody really gets how long the show goes on for. It's like being in a camp with people who all love the same exact thing and have the same goals, and they're encouraging, and like it's just positive. So it's just like the best environment to be in. Like, how could you not become friends with everybody? Obviously you're not like best friends with every single person, but you have some connection to everybody in the show.
And I'm sure that, like you said, I mean, it's like the friendships are only beginning. Like you guys are going to be in each other's lives, and it's going to be probably wild. Like in 5-10 years to just still be like, remember when we were on American Idol?
Totally. We have to have our like annual reunions for sure. It's actually a really good idea.
And not to mention, like, this was such a talked about season. Like you guys were part of a really exciting year for the show. I think that ratings were up. Not that that really matters, but I just think people were
but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. They always would tell us, they would be like, guys, it's also crazy because it's like another part is like the social media aspect, and how that's such like, it's like a second job, you have to post at all the certain times, and you have to keep your stuff active even when it's not show day, and when you're off the show you got to like run with the wave, you have to keep posting and keep going with it. And so it's definitely like a whole nother job, the social media aspect of it. But it gives you like a taste of what you're just gonna have to do to get big, like that's the industry right now, is a lot of social media.
Yeah, well, the platform that you guys have now, and with social media, because so much of why the ratings build today, I mean, like Nielsen ratings are how shows used to be, that's what would determine if they were successful. But like you read them now, it's like, how accurate is that? How accurate are the overnight numbers? It's like we're watching stuff on YouTube and Hulu and TikTok, like, and that's where you're seeing that people are talking about you guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. Like when I first got on the show, like how many random articles were about me that I'd look up and it'd be like, this is Danielle's mom and this is her best friend. And I'm like, all that stuff already. Like I'm not famous, So when I would have those like articles about me, it was like, it was weird in a good way, but it was weird.
So if anybody listening, I'm just curious, like if anybody listening is a singer who is thinking to themselves, I want to audition for American Idol. I mean, I'm sure you would tell them to go for it, but would you have any piece of advice?
I would tell them, do it, because it literally doesn't hurt. That's the first thing. And second thing is, if you are going to go on the show, choose songs that you want to sing and choose songs that show every part of your voice. Obviously make sure they're kind of known and they're, you know what I mean? But you should feel connected to every song you sing, and you don't have to feel like this is my last moment every single second, because you're going to tire yourself out and you're going to stress yourself out even more. Just kind of go with the flow and like be prepared. And that's all you can really ask for. And making friends is like one of the most important parts, in the connections, because I know a lot of people who maybe made it through the first round and not the rest, and they made friendships so strong that like they're already collaborating and hanging out. And so like Jenna, this girl Jenna, who was on the show, who got a little bit of airing time, but like not really anything. We met up a couple of times, and like, it's about the connections that you're making.
Now I'm sure everywhere you go, people are like, oh my God, you're on American Idol. And
Yeah.
besides American Idol, you talked about wanting to have a song come out this summer, and you've got this music career ahead of you. So I'm wondering if you want to talk about like what's next for you and what you're looking forward to.
I am taking a gap year next year, so hopefully I'll be working on music as much as I can and writing. And I'm a little nervous about the fact that, like, it's just 1 year I'm going to be in Israel. I'm just going to be like volunteering and just doing some stuff there. So I know it's a little bit harder, but I think I'll get some cool like exposure from other cultures being there. And then the goal is to go to music school. So I'm reapplying to colleges this summer. So hopefully NYU Clive Davis program or the Steinhardt program. Those are both at the top of my list. I was thinking about Belmont, so we'll see about that too. But it's definitely like a lot of music, and I want to start collaborating with people as much as I can.
I'm excited for you, especially about Israel, because that's like just to get the different cultural perspectives and, see what the Israeli music scene is like, and not just the culture musically, but just what the world is like over there.
Totally. And I've been there a couple times, and just like, it feels very homey there. And it's just also a beautiful place to be. And I just think it's going to be awesome, because I know like a couple people who have talked about like musicians they know in Israel, and like, because it's such a small community, it's like a small place, people really like find connections very easily, and it's kind of easy to get big in Israel. Not that I'm like trying to get big in Israel, but it just like it does have good music scene there, so it could be a fun experiment.
Well, you can, I mean, hey, if you want to get big in the United States and get big in Israel, why not? Just like keep adding
Why
different
not?
countries. Like,
Spread myself around everywhere. Yeah, totally.
maybe you'll realize that, hey, I just want to keep like going to different countries and just become like a world traveler,
Yeah, my cousin's a world traveler. His name's Drew Binsky. He's been to every country in the world. You should check him out. He's pretty cool.
Well, I definitely will. And if people want to follow you or stream your music, anything like that, where do they need to go?
So Danielle Finn with 2 eyes. That's my Instagram and my TikTok. Twitter is the same thing. And then, just search up Danielle Finn or Brace Yourself, which is the song I have out right now on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, pretty much everything. That's kind of it. And Facebook, Danielle Finn. You'll see it. You'll see it right there. My face will be big in the picture. Content will be coming, I promise.
Yes, stay tuned for that. And if you like this podcast, make sure that you follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. And if you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you're listening, there's a lot of platforms. Make sure that you are subscribing, that you are rating, leaving a review. You can also watch these interviews on YouTube. Just type in American Idol Unaired. You'll find all the conversations there. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. And thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. This was so awesome. Such a cool, comfortable interview. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.